You know what really makes someone noble? Let's just forget about all the crowns and the money for a second. Today, we're going to dig into a totally different kind of nobility, a spiritual one, and the inner compass that points us right to it.
So let me just ask you straight up, what is true nobility? When you hear that word, what's the first thing that pops into your head? A king? Maybe? A billionaire? Some kind of genius? Whatever it is, hold that thought, because we're about to see how that whole idea gets flipped completely on its head.
All right, let's get into it. So on one side, you've got the world's answer, right? It's all about power, wealth, and how smart you are. That's how we measure a person's worth. But then you look at God's answer, and it's this single powerful idea, spiritual nobility. And believe it or not, the journey to really get this difference takes us all the way back to ancient Greece.
So our story kicks off with the Apostle Paul. And he was being guided, or actually, it's probably more accurate to say he was being pushed by the Holy Spirit into Macedonia. It was almost like a divine GPS was forcing him onto this collision course with the absolute peak of human thinking and logic. This right here. This is the Areopagus in Athens. Back in Paul's day, this was ground zero for philosophy, for logic, for debate. I mean, this wasn't just another city. It was the symbol of supreme confidence in human reason. And this is exactly where Paul had to go make his case.
Now, you gotta understand the mindset of the people here. We're talking brilliant thinkers, the Stoics, the Epicureans. But the thing is, they treated ideas like a sport, just endlessly debating, always looking for the next new thing, but not really searching for truth. So, when Paul shows up talking about the resurrection, a spiritual truth that just shattered their logic, what did they do? They mocked him. Their own intellect had become this massive wall, completely blocking them from faith.
But just a little ways away, the Holy Spirit leads Paul to a totally different group of people, a group whose reaction was the complete opposite of what he found in Athens. And it's in their response that we find the secret, the key to unlocking the very thing the Athenians just couldn't see, true nobility.
So the Bible actually praises the people from this town called Berea for having a more noble character. But this nobility had nothing to do with their social status or how much money they had. No, the original Greek text points to something way deeper, the inner condition of their spirit. It was a spiritual kind of nobility.
And the key to it all is right here in this verse. The original Greek is so powerful. It translates to receiving the message with every willingness. Just think about that for a second. Not some willingness, not a cautious, let's see willingness, but every willingness. It's a posture of being completely 100% open.
And this willingness played out in a really simple two-step way. First, they just gladly received the word. Their spiritual compass was already pointed toward God, so they welcomed the message, even if they didn't get all the details right away. And second, they weren't just taking his word for it. They dug into the scriptures every single day to check if what Paul was saying was true.
Now, this whole principle of every willingness, it's like a universal key to faith. This isn't just about the Bereans. In fact, we see this exact same beautiful spirituality pop up in another amazing story. But this time, it's just one person, all alone in the desert.
So let me introduce you to the Ethiopian eunuch. This guy was a big deal, a high-ranking official in charge of the treasury. He was powerful, he was wealthy, he had everything the world would call noble. And yet, here he is, by himself, in a chariot, in the middle of nowhere, humbly reading the book of Isaiah, a book he openly admits he just doesn't understand.
And his question, it just says it all. He asks, how can I understand unless someone explains it to me? You see that? There is zero intellectual pride there. Zero. Even with all his status, his spiritual compass was pointing toward God, and he had the humility to say, hey, I need help. I need a guide.
And this just lays the contrast out so clearly, doesn't it? The intellectuals in Athens, they demanded rational proof before they would even think about believing. But the seeker in the desert, he was willing to believe before he totally understood. He trusted his spiritual compass more than he trusted his own intellect.
And this just perfectly echoes what Jesus himself said. Remember after Thomas demanded to see and touch the proof of the resurrection? Jesus told him, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." That blessing comes from the willingness of our hearts, not from the demands of our minds. So at the end of the day, it all boils down to this choice, doesn't it? A choice between two very different paths that we see so clearly in Paul's journey through Greece. The path of intellectual pride versus the path of humble willingness. This summary really just lays it all out for us. You look at Thessalonica, their motivation was jealousy, and it led to violent rejection. Then there's Athens. Intellectual pride led to endless debate and, finally, mockery. But then you get to Berea. Their motivation was spiritual hunger, and their method was willing reception and daily study. And the outcome? Faith, and that spiritual nobility we've been talking about. The inner attitude really did determine the final outcome.
So, here's the big takeaway. True, lasting nobility has absolutely nothing to do with your job title, your IQ, or what's in your bank account. It's all about the direction of your inner spirit. It's about which way your inner compass is pointing.
And that really just leaves us with one last, very personal question. Is your compass pointing toward the wall of your own reason, your own pride, or is it pointed with every bit of willingness you have toward a truth that's just waiting to be found? Which direction is your compass pointing?